right, well, welcome to the first possible failure of this video concept, which is something that's actually been on my mind for quite a while, which is the idea of doing sort of, well, just like a longer form videos of my bike rides, because especially around Manchester, I've come across so many things that I didn't know existed, and there's so much fun adventure opportunity, and also there's a lot more biker aggression here. So I figured it'd be kind of fun to get passive content, you know, try not to be out of breath too much when talking, and do sort of passive content biking around Manchester. I don't know, basically, I mean, if you haven't picked up the breadcrumbs yet, I gotta figure out a way to make everything that I want to continue to do in the next year to be significantly less time consuming. And one of the things that would help me with the dailies is to find more passive content, stuff that I can capitalize content out of that I'm normally doing. And since physical fitness is basically the only thing that keeps me off of antidepressants, that I can't really get rid of. I did have somebody recently tell me that I should consider ending the dailies due to my life circumstance, which is always a real rebirth of inspiration for me to make sure that doesn't happen. So definitely not going to quit the dailies. I've said it every time people ask me how long do I imagine doing it, my answer is always until something physically prevents me from continuing to make a video every day. Now, I may have to change the definition or loosen the definition a little bit of what a daily video is. However, I'm still going to continue to upload every day, no matter what. Or at least that's the plan. Now, a couple of problems with this format already. I thought I had a couple different attachments in my house when I got home. Mainly a microphone that had a nice windscreen on it that I could attach to the GoPro. Unfortunately, that microphone is currently not in my possession. The other problem is I thought I was going to have different mounts. Those are also not in my possession. So until then, I've basically just attached the GoPro up as close to my face as I comfortably can and hope for the best. And I hope the wind is not too aids. Probably is, especially if as I head down these higher speeds. I'm sure this audio is just super blown out. Thankfully, GoPros, unlike many other cameras, because they're you know, pretty much intended purpose almost solely is to be used as action cameras, their software, their integrated software's ability to separate out the obnoxious static that is wind blowing over the microphone, it's pretty good at making that less obnoxious. The downside is it's probably going to destroy the quality of my voice coming through. But I really have no idea, because I've never tested it this directly. And this, like that, that's a perfect example. I have no idea how well that's going to come through. The other thing is, I don't know how out of breath I'm going to actually, I feel like I'm sounding insanely out of breath, but I don't know how distracting that would be. So this is pretty much going to be a long form, you know, I'm not going to call it a podcast because it's definitely not that, but it's like, you know, like we go on a bit of a biking adventure. Now this one isn't so much of an adventure. This is just me biking to the Goffstown Outlet Center YMCA to work out, but I figured this was a great day, great opportunity to test out this concept, regardless of the fact that I don't really have the equipment that I need. So heading up Dunbarton Road here. I do have my GPS out because I've, you know, as you know, I'm new to Manchester, I'm new to the area. So this route is still pretty new to me. So I prefer just to follow this route. So far, I haven't been yelled at on my bike. I really would like just to document these scenarios. There's something about 2021 where people are just extra angry at bikers. I don't know if it's because they haven't been used to them or what, but I'm sure we'll capture at least one person yelling at me before the day is done. Usually the main gripe is for me to get on the sidewalk, but that's not usually viable, nor does it really matter because I'm only in their way about 0.3 seconds. So as long as I don't die, I don't really care what their gripe is, what they think. But it definitely just makes you feel like a nerd on his bike. The nice thing about sort of the area that I live in currently is I have the option of going into the city for a bike ride or to go the opposite direction. I love this guy right here. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but he's got it's an old loon ski lift, or gondola, I think it's supposedly called. Similar, you know, it's like, I think everybody has had that fear in a gondola of it falling to its death, but you always have that thing in your mind where like, oh, that never happens. And it happened in the news recently. I think it was like, what, the death count was like 14 or something crazy. Another thing that just occurred to me is it probably would make more sense for me to do this on the way back, because we're climbing out of the Merrimack Valley, so it's all uphill from here, literally. And then on the way back, it's all downhill for the most part, with some exceptions. But there's a much faster way. If I took Goffstown back road, it'd be a lot faster, but the traffic this time of day is just so not worth it. It's such a busy road because a lot of people who live in Goffstown, Dunbarton, Ware, those kind of people that still work in Manchester, they all commute on that road. So it's kind of a nightmare for someone like myself who's biking. I'm gonna take a moment just to make sure that everything is still good on this camera real quick. I really have no backup plan if, oh shit, I need to turn here. I really have no backup plan for if this audio sucks. I'm gonna stop talking here and climb this hill real quick. I don't know what my cropping is on this angle, but I hope you can't see how embarrassingly low my gears are. All the uphill's over, so now it's just downhill from here. Probably won't be able to do too much talking through this high speed part, but it's a nice way to cool off. Because if you're like me and you sweat profusely, it's nice to have a couple downhills in your ride. One of the reasons that I like to cycle more than run is because of how much I sweat. I sweat to a point where my shirt is, and I'm using this word the most literal way possible, is soaked through. It's all the way soaked through to the point where I have some videos of me wringing out my shirts that I could show you. So not only is that super, super gross, but more importantly, the shirt gets very heavy, especially because I'm normally wearing cotton. And that rubs against my nipples, causes my nipples to chafe when I run. So I've used all the tricks. I've used, you know, non-cotton shirts. I've used Vaseline, tape, all that kind of shit. But I just sweat out the Vaseline. I sweat off the adhesive of the tape. I soak the non-cotton material, which then gets even heavier than cotton. And it's rougher, like something like an Under Armour or spandex is much rougher on your nipples. And there's a unique trait that nipple skin has where it doesn't chafe, it doesn't callus over. So what happens, just like Andy from The Office, you get stuck in this vicious cycle of your nipples getting more and more sensitive to chafing. So if I run outside, I either have to wear no shirt or pretty much not run at all. However, when you bike, because of this slight aggressive lean over, your shirt tends to hang off of your skin, preventing you from experiencing any undesirable chafing of your nipples. So that's probably more information than you were, you know, desiring to know about my my nipple skin. But you know, maybe it helps some of you out there who are experiencing the same thing, which I'm here to tell you, just give up, pick a different sport. That's the unfortunate truth. All right, so now we're about to cross onto Dunbarton here, which this intersection kind of lame because you hit this hill, but you got to go slow down it because it's like a hard right into an incredibly busy road, especially this time of day. You hear that? Hear my brakes squeaking? Yeah, I gotta go get my bike tuned up. I like to go to a bike barn in Manchester, which is where I bought this bike. Not only are they great people, family-owned business, really reasonable pricing, but if you buy your bike there, you get 10% off all services and accessories for the lifetime of the bike. So if you're looking for a tune-up, or you're looking for a new inner tube, or you know, maybe just something to mount a water bottle to it, you get 10% off. And I mean, who the hell else are you gonna go to, honestly? You know, don't go to Walmart. I'm telling you, if you're even remotely serious about getting a bike, you don't have to spend thousands, but you definitely don't want to, you know, get some cheap bike off from Walmart or Amazon or something. You're better off dropping a little guap. But if you're not in a position to do that, Craigslist by far next best thing. But if you buy a bike off Craigslist, I recommend getting still paying the 70 bucks or whatever to go get a tune-up, because you want to make sure, you want to have them check for hairline fractures in the frame, because if you have any little tiny splintering fractures, basically your bike could just absolutely disintegrate underneath you at a high speed, which could obviously lead to death, injury, or just frankly a really bad time. So that's my word of caution. We're almost there, last uphill here. Try not to be out of breath, but I am, because I pretty much took last week off, so my cardio is pretty much dumped. It only takes about 3 days. You can get back up to that cardio level faster, but 3 days is really all it takes before you're wrecked. Crossing over, and we have arrived to our destination. Hi, how are you? Very related to the conversation that I was just having earlier with myself and eventually you, viewer at home. I think I'm gonna have to take off my shirt because I am soaked through it, but I don't want to get shirtless on a property that has children. Get off the property of Young Man's Christian Association. Wouldn't want anyone to mistaken me for Lil Nas X, you know what I'm saying? If you think the idea of taking your shirt off on the side of the road when you have a pretty undesirable body is cringy, I'm right there with you. However, unfortunately, this is just not a matter of taste. This is a matter of pure comfort and humanity. Wearing a soaking wet shirt like you just got out of a pool and having to wear that is pretty miserable. And let's find out where Google's gonna take us on this route, shall we? Gonna bomb this hill. Nice little break here. Then we got a bit of a climb at the end. I'm gonna continue to talk through these parts because this is a good like kind of test of GoPro. This is the GoPro Hero 7 Silver, for those of you at home who give a shit. If you want to know my honest opinion about GoPros, I think they're just about one of the worst consumer cameras available on the market. And I'll give you one reason why. Wide angle. It looks terrible. If you ever take your GoPro on a vacation and you're not going to be doing backflips off of cliffs or, you know, swimming 2 feet from dolphins, don't even bother. Because if you get off your airplane, stick that GoPro out the window to show the city skyline, it's going to basically be 90% sky and 90% your fingers. It's not worthwhile. They're very overpriced. They have some of the most glitchy software on the earth. And that pretty much sums it up. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing pieces of equipment, but in terms of bang for buck, they're kind of a waste of time. or maybe I shouldn't say waste of time, they're just very utility specific. So they don't even look good for stuff like this, you know. If you put your GoPro on your snowmobile or your motorcycle or, you know, something like that, don't get me wrong, you can definitely capture cool stuff, but for the most part, wide angle just doesn't allow for too much movement, you know, and it just captures a lot of information at once, which isn't really what you want when you're not, like I said, doing backflips off cliffs in Tahiti. But some positives of GoPros, holy shit, are they tough. As you saw last summer, Cole and I sent one up, you know, about a third of the way to outer space. And you can also huck them at the ground. They can just withstand some pretty intense conditions. I'm basically going to follow Dunbarton Road here, or I'm sorry, Goffstown Back Road, and then cut over, go up Straw Road, which causes us to backtrack just a little bit, but I think it's better ultimately than staying on this road and then having to deal with the exit 6 intersection, which, if you're familiar with Manchester enough, which I'm sure most of you are, to know where exit 6 is, whoever designed that can go fuck right off, because it is such a god shit of a goddamn intersection. It's like 10 lanes are all merging and everything's going in different directions. It's a big circle. Everything's literally a one way. It's like a badly drawn roundabout. It was like version 1 of the roundabout that we know today. I gotta say, I have so many questions, so much fascination with the cemeteries in New Hampshire. It's like, at what point do we stop caring about the dead, you know? I'm asking you about that as like a legitimate question, because we have some tombs here from the 1700s and it's all protected as if they were buried, you know, 2 years ago, which I totally get. But my question is, in 200 years, how much more cemeteries can we build? Is this an ignorant statement? I'm sure it is. I guess there's a lot of cemeteries that get destroyed, but if we're ultimately trying to protect all of them, what's the end goal? We're just going to collect dead bodies forever, right? I mean, it's kind of the idea. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, you know? Thinking out loud. But cemeteries are really cool. Everybody claims there's some haunted cemetery. Everybody claims they know something that's haunted. Chances are none of it is, you know? There's like a moment, you know, like, I love the imagination of ghosts and aliens, and, you know, it's a complicated thing for me. I can't necessarily say I believe or don't believe in ghosts, and I can't really say I do or do not believe in aliens, because I think there's just too much nuance, and there's too much unknown to even begin to form a hypothesis for me personally. However, I'm extremely open-minded to both sides of the argument, and I love to think about it, you know. I don't just write off the fact that ghosts aren't real, because it's a really boring way to live, you know. Just like I would never write off that God isn't real. Not that I really believe in God, but I don't fucking know. That's the whole idea, right? That's the whole idea about faith. Unfortunately, my brain is just fairly evidence-based, and as Carl Sagan once said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And so far, I haven't seen extraordinary evidence for either ghosts or God, or aliens for that matter. So, I don't remember why I brought this up. I was going somewhere with this, but I got distracted by that turn there. Oh, yeah. When you meet people who are like, you know, and the conversation of ghosts come up, there's like sort of this moment where it goes from, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about ghosts, to being like, oh, we have very different outlooks on this opinion. Like, you know, with all love, there's a few people in my life who they just, every day they have a new ghost story of something that happened to them. And you know, I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's tough. Again, extraordinary claims call for extraordinary evidence. I'm not saying they're lying, I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying I'm gonna have to see some receipts. How many of you know about this stuff? It's like, what is it called? Oh, I should know the name of it. It's an invasive species, and it's like, there's pretty much no way to get rid of it. And to make it worse, when you cut it down, the root, I believe the branches that fall to the ground then turn into their own. So it's like virtually, you know, it's like what that dragon in Hercules, where you cut off one head and two, not Hercules, you know what I'm talking about, Greek mythology. A giant serpent. I really have no idea if this is, it appears to still be recording. Y'all, this may be the most bust, dumb vid ever, but, you know, it's fun. At least I have a reason to, I have an excuse to talk to myself now, rather than just being a psycho. But I'm gonna go on some more fun rides. This is kind of a boring ride because it's just all street. There's an area, Stark Park, north side of Manchester. I recently was back there going for a bike ride the other day when I was doing the video on the basically the rape prison. And there's like a whole bunch of cool trails back there and stuff. I only rode about like 0.5% of it. And it's beautiful. So I'm gonna go back there and check that out. I'll definitely probably do one of these for that. Some videos that I planned. I got one Milford video that I'm waiting to hear back on. It's an abandoned structure. Have a good lead to get in touch with them. Hopefully they respond. So far, no luck, but they're kind of older, so you know, they're living on the past times. Dude, I swear to God, I'm gonna die on this bike one day. Like, for those of you who know me, you know I'm absolutely terrified of car accidents. I drive like a grandma for that purpose. I've had many family members be in some pretty significant car accidents in my life, and various people throughout my life who've been sustained lifelong injuries from it. So it's a very real danger to me. And even more so than car accidents is the idea of being hit with a car on my bicycle. I give so much shit to people who drive motorcycles because it's so insanely dangerous, but then I'm out here arguably doing something very similar. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm going a lot faster on a motorcycle, but I don't know, I'm not necessarily in less danger on a regular bike. Here's a little bit of this uphill, so I'm gonna be huffing and puffing here for a minute. Can anyone tell me what the hell the New Hampshire Job Corps is? Like, what is the Job Corps? Is that just like the regular, like the administrative assistant version of the Marines? Like, what is that? Do they manage all of the military workforce in the state? I'm seriously asking, because boy, do they have a really impressive, heavily guarded compound here on Dunbarton Road. Oh, guys, I'm out of breath. Talking and biking. That makes for tough talking. Oh, I love people who give me lots of room. Beautiful people. Beautiful. You know, I really don't need all this space, you know. And really, bicyclists don't need all this space too. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes for your safety and my own, you have to overtake a lane. Sometimes you have to go in the middle and overtake it, and that's usually just to assure that the car can see you. And that's usually what you should do when you're taking a left on a bicycle, or just doing anything out of the ordinary where you just need to make sure the car behind you is like under your control. So that way you can give them proper notice. But like riding 2x2 on the road, come on guys. You know, we all have to share the road, and that goes for both sides. We have the beautiful dump to our left, the Manchester dump. Look at it. Reminds me so much of Teletubbies. It's just such a beautiful, solid green. We got about 3 minutes left on this bike right here. I hope those of you who stuck around enjoyed it. And those of you who didn't stick around, well, you're not gonna hear this anyways. And those of you who stuck around and hated it, leave a comment down below and tell me why. I'm genuinely curious. You know, like I've said many times, the point of these videos has never really been for viewership, but it sure makes it a lot more fun when people are watching and enjoying what I have to offer. Plus it pushes me a little bit because there's some accountability involved. But mostly, this has been all one big experiment to try to come up with some more ways that I can make fun content that's engaging for me, first and foremost, but also capitalizes on some already productive time, because I'm gonna have significantly less of that pretty much for the rest of my life. But hey, if there's one thing I don't like to turn down, it's a good personal challenge. So, thanks again for joining. Taking a little detour just to throw you off my trail. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.